So, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of AIDIA, I welcome you all to this webinar. My name is Alakh Ranjan. I'm working as research assistant with Center for Land Warfare Studies, New Delhi, and associated as non-resident junior fellow with AIDIA. So today we will be discussing about the role of media in integration of BIMSTEC in a post-COVID world order. BIMSTEC, which is considered a very important region because it's considered a bridge between the South Asia and the Southeast Asia. This has also been in a revival mode after the Modi's election in its second term, and India has been pushing for the integration of the BIMSTEC region and getting everyone on the same page to revive the dialogue in this region. In this scenario, we will be discussing about what role media can play in it, because the present time is very tough for everyone and even tougher for media. As the COVID-19 continues to spread across the world, the role of media becomes more important. Media as an organization plays an important role in informing the public about the current situation and the initiative taken by the government. It also plays an important role in public policy formation and foreign policy. In light of this, we have with us media person from the BIMSTEC region to discuss what role can media play in a collective fight against this pandemic. Can sharing of information, such as the good practices among each other, aid in the struggle against the COVID in the current scenario? In the second part of the discussion, I would like all of you to discuss about the problem of fake news, which all of you are facing in your own country, how you are dealing with it. Has this problem increased or decreased in the current times? And what central role will media play in narrative building or public policy and foreign policy formation to integrate this region? So we will go in the alphabetical order and we'll start with Bangladesh. From Bangladesh, we have Zafar Shobhan, who is the editor of Dhaka Tribune, founded in 2013. As a long-time columnist, he also has to his name numerous articles, features, interviews, and essays in publications such as the New York Times, the Guardian, Time, Economic and Political Weekly, Outlook, among many others. Previously, he served as the editor of the Monthly Forum magazine and opinions editor to the Daily Star. He was selected as a young global leader by the World Economic Forum in 2005 and as a 2009 Yale World Fellow. I welcome you, sir. I request everyone that your presentation time is 7 to 10 minutes, so please stick to the time.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me to attend and participate in this panel. When you mentioned that you were going to start alphabetically, I was fearing that you were going to go by our names, in which case I'd have gone last. But I'm very glad you decided to go with the countries, and that allows me to go first. Now, I have long been a supporter of BIMSTEC and think that that could show the way forward for the nations of this region. Now, unfortunately, for many reasons, SAARC, which we had all hoped was in fact going to be the engine of regional cooperation for South Asia in the immediate environs, never really managed to live up to that potential. Excuse me?
No, sir, continue.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Please continue.
Okay, you see, but of course, SAARC has never really managed to live up to that potential. Largely, I would say this is because of the adversarial relationship between India and Pakistan. When the two biggest countries within a sub-regional grouping are really not on the best of terms, then that, of course, works as a big drag on the entire structure. And of course, there are other structural problems, given the fact that India is such a large country compared to all of the others. And so there's a little bit of an imbalance there. So that being the case, we had always, certainly here in Bangladesh, hoped that BIMSTEC may be an alternative which would be more fruitful and more productive. And if you look at it from a point of view, we also, of course, share a border, for instance, with Myanmar. And if you look at it from Dhaka's point of view, Bangkok is more or less equidistant to Dhaka from New Delhi, you see. So there's really no logical reason why we shouldn't look east. In various countries within Bangladesh, various governments within Bangladesh have made that part of their policy to really open up to that area. And, you know, beyond, you also have a lot of Bangladeshis working in Malaysia and Singapore. So the commonalities and the connections are very much there. In fact, looking east has long been a cornerstone policy of all governments of Bangladesh, be they Awami League or even the BNP government, which was there before it. So this is something which I think whose time has come is an idea. Now, of course, fast forward to 2020, and there are some new problems within the BIMSTEC grouping, which perhaps did not exist a few years ago. And of course, one problem I would say is that right now, Bangladesh and Myanmar have very fraught relations. And I think that being the case, that presents a certain obstacle to engagement and cooperation. And I would also say that between India and Bangladesh, in the last year and a half or so, due to some of the rhetoric which is coming out of India, and specifically some of the laws which have been passed, and I'm talking here about the nationalities laws and I'm blanking on the actual acronym, but you know the one I'm talking about, which has created a lot of tension between Bangladesh and India. Now, on the one hand, Bangladesh and India's relations, government to government, are probably as strong as they have ever been, and certainly our trade relations are very good. Okay, but with regard to issues of citizenship, the Citizenship Amendment Act, and the National Register of Citizens, these two laws in India are creating a certain amount of tension in providing, again, like I said, an obstacle, which means that even within the context of BIMSTEC, that this kind of cooperation engagement would be difficult. That said, this is also an opportunity. It could be that BIMSTEC could be a useful platform for trying to address these issues, let's say between Bangladesh and India, and let's say between Bangladesh and Myanmar. And so on the one hand, you can look at it as we face all of these obstacles and predicaments. On the other hand, you can look at it and say that BIMSTEC could actually be a platform. Now, in the current climate, what we're talking about here is what role can the media play? And I think the media actually can play a very significant role. Certainly there's a lot to learn from one another. We in Bangladesh have been writing a lot of stories about what are the best practices we could have learned from other countries. And for instance, we've done a number of stories about Kerala in India, which has had a very good record in terms of battling the COVID-19 crisis. And we think that there's many things we could learn from them. And, you know, moving beyond, and again, if you move east, Vietnam is another country where we feel that we could learn a lot. You see, the truth of the matter is it's not really much use for us to look towards Western models of handling this situation, because one, their resources are far different from us. On the other hand, if a country like Vietnam or a state in India like Kerala has had success, then that gives us hope and leads us to think that, well, maybe we could actually do well. I think Sri Lanka is another country which has had a great deal of success. And again, you know, we feel that if a country like Sri Lanka is able, with limited resources, is able to actually manage the crisis, that's something which points to hope for Bangladesh. Now, as far as the media is concerned, I think in terms of pushing this agenda for cooperation and engagement, I think actually we play the most important role. And I think one of the problems, and here I would say that the Bangladeshi media is not guiltless. We are, you know, I would say all of the regional media, I've noticed it in Indian media, I've noticed it in Myanmar's media, perhaps I'm not sure if my august co-panelists would agree, but also I would say Bangladesh is not guiltless. I see there's a certain amount of jingoism and nationalism often in media. And I think one of the things which we need to do is we need to try and sort of move beyond that and try and look at things from the other perspective and look at things from a regional perspective. And perhaps this crisis if there's going to be a silver lining to this tremendous crisis the world is facing right now, is that it will allow us actually to put our petty nationalistic differences aside and try and say, okay, how can we reach out, learn from one another, and then cooperate? Because at the end of the day, I think one of the things we will find out is that this is not something which any government can really handle by itself. We live in a world community, we live in a global community. Underneath that, we're an Asian community, and now we're talking about essentially a BIMSTEC community. And I think if we are going to tackle this problem and address these issues and come out successful on the other side, the only way to really do this is by all cooperating and engaging with one another. And I feel the media can certainly play a vanguard role in this affairs. I think I'm going to leave it there for now. We could move on to others, and then after the conversation has started, I'm very happy to address any points anyone might make, or answer any questions they might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zafar. Now I would like to invite from India, Mr. Dipanjan Roy Chaudhary. Mr. Dipanjan Roy Chaudhary is a senior assistant editor with The Economic Times, Delhi, and writes on foreign and strategic affairs for the Daily. A journalist in 2001, he has been posted in Jammu and Kashmir and traveled extensively in India's northeast to cover insurgency in the past. As a reporter for the Foreign Affairs, he has traveled to various parts of the world on key assignments, including summits, prime minister and presidential visits, and the developments in India's neighborhood. A US State Department IVLP fellow in 2050, he has been on fellowship to Germany and Taiwan. May I request him to start with his presentation.
Yeah. Thank you, Alakh. Greetings to Mr. Shobhan, Mr. Wayne, Kamal, and Mr. Sulochana. Yeah. We are in the midst of a pandemic that none of us probably has seen in our lifetime, and probably our parents have also not seen in their lifetime. This brings to us, taking a cue from Mr. Shobhan said about the cooperation in terms of crisis, and this is not just a country's problem, and this actually needs cooperation and sharing of best practices, be it by the media personalities or media reporters or by the powers that be. BIMSTEC is an ideal platform of a plurilateral format, I would say. We are now moving towards an era of multilateralism, and that multilateralism of the kind that we knew for the last 70 years need reforms. So in the post-COVID world order, we might not see big multilateral bodies being very successful in bringing up a strategy, and therefore we need smaller groupings. And I would coin BIMSTEC as a plurilateral, like we have a Quad, which is India, US, Japan, Australia formation, or India, Japan, US formation, or India, Japan, Australia formation, or India, Indonesia, Australia formation. So BIMSTEC is also plurilateral, is how I look at it. And this presents a unique opportunity in this part of the world where India is looking east, acting east, and Southeast Asia is looking west, and countries like Bangladesh, Myanmar are actually bridge for India to Southeast Asia. So and this South Asia and Southeast Asia are at a different level of development compared to the West, and this has also been starkly come out in this crisis. On one hand, the Western economies with huge financial resources initially grappled to handle this crisis. Of course, some of the countries in Europe are now coming out with a smaller population, and of course higher literacy level, better economic management than many countries in other parts of the world. But in the South and Southeast Asia and part of BIMSTEC, it's a success of a different kind. We have limited resources, and in this limited resources, the government had to step in, borrow time, go into for lockdown. The lockdown actually helped the governments to gather medical equipment, masks, and prepare the hospitals, because we have a virus which is not going to go away, in my opinion. And while, it was thought that, a certain kind of lockdown will actually going to break the chain, it probably didn't happen in that big way. Okay, it helped to reduce the numbers, but definitely this is something that we need introspection and for the long term, and how we handle pandemic. BIMSTEC hasn't really had public health infrastructure on its agenda. And going forward, this is a unique and a golden opportunity for all the 7 countries in BIMSTEC, be it Nepal, be it Bhutan, be it Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, Sri Lanka, to actually come together on the table and look at public health infrastructure. A lot of people from Bangladesh contributes to India's health tourism in a big way. It's actually a very big contributor. People from Bangladesh not only contributes to India's tourism, but they contribute to health tourism in a big way. People from Nepal who come to India not only for work and tourism, but also come to health tourism for India, right? People from Sri Lanka come to the southern parts of India for certain kind of health tourism. Maldives is not a part of BIMSTEC, but definitely a lot of people come from Maldives to Kerala and Karnataka for health-related tourism. So can we look at a model, and maybe Maldives can be added to that, BIMSTEC +1. I know there are no plans to expand BIMSTEC at this stage, but can this be looked at a public health infrastructure focus going forward, apart from the connectivity, common security challenges in Bay of Bengal? The challenge now is actually countries with common borders is health challenges, and how does the 7 countries come together and develop a health infrastructure? BIMSTEC had an agenda of 20 items. Number of items actually did not take off over the years. It's only since 2016 that certain steps have been taken, when India invited BIMSTEC as part of BRICS outreach. I would kind of presume, and I am not private to this, next year when India is the host for the BRICS again, whether India is going to invite BIMSTEC as its partner. Every BRICS leader chooses one outreach component, and probably BIMSTEC could be the right component to choose in terms of for the BRICS countries, where you also bring the other 4 powers from different parts of the world. And of course, one of them is very much present in Asia, and the biggest country in Asia. So how can we look at a public health infrastructure model within BIMSTEC? And that, in my opinion, should take center stage. And reporters across the region and the BIMSTEC countries who are covering health issues, maybe there could be a coalition of that reporter. Somebody could put in funds, and start a fellowship for that in public health infrastructure for BIMSTEC. The reporters could join hands, share the best practices. Like some of us, like me, I never wrote on health, but in the last 2 months, I actually have learned a bit of health, which I never thought that I would in my lifetime. A lot of things like plasma, PPE kits. I actually didn't, focus on these issues, and about herd immunity and about respiratory trouble. Many journalists now across their various beats, as we call it, are now have knowledge about health. Even rudimentary knowledge about health. So can these resources be pulled together and have a coalition of the health? Because we need a network of BIMSTEC think tanks. We need a network of the BIMSTEC media, which hasn't happened in a big way. We had the SARC media, if we recall. Some of us would recall that an initiative was taken for SARC media, and the SARC stickers were used. Journalists could utilize the SARC sticker and travel. Can we think of a BIMSTEC media sticker, which allows journalists between the 7 countries to travel? Thailand, for example, is among the 7 has the best public health infrastructure in the region, in the BIMSTEC region. We don't talk about Thailand as such and its public health infrastructure. Mr. Shobhan would recall that a lot of people from Bangladesh also travel to Thailand, because it's closer home than coming to Delhi, and it's probably sometimes offer better. Singapore is is the most costly option, but Thailand, can Thailand be a little more integrated into the region? Because Thailand is not so much integrated in South Asia, unlike Southeast Asia. They are more integrated in Southeast Asia. We know Thailand as a regional financial capital, as a tourism hub. But I guess Thailand has a responsibility, as well as we have we can take an initiative to actually push Thailand to form a coalition of BIMSTEC health infrastructure, and the journalists could actually do a BIMSTEC health fellowship. Something can be launched on these lines. I really don't know who can fund it, but I'm sure that there can be people who would be willing to put their money in this. Thank you.
No, you are muted. I cannot hear. You are muted.
Yeah, Sham, you're muted.
Sorry. So thank you, sir, for bringing all these. And as I would like to put across this point that out of the 14 sectors which BIMSTEC has, public health sector is also part of it, and Thailand is the leading country. For all sectors, there are some leading countries, and in public,
Right.
Thailand is the leading country. And it would be very good initiative to start a coalition of reporters to talk about healthcare. A very important suggestion. I think that this could be sent to the this report which we make after this conference. I think this point should be included in it. So after you now, I would like to invite Sein from Myanmar. He's an editor at the Mizzima Media and a former journalism advisor of Internews Myanmar. He has instructed training department staff in the techniques, procedures, ethics, and obligations facing trainees and professional journalists. Previously, he worked as training director of Myanmar Journalism Institute. May I request him to begin with his presentation? Sir.
Thank you, Shara. Good afternoon, everyone. Actually, I used to live in New Delhi. I lived Delhi for 7 years. And so Delhi is not a
Second
center.
home.
Yeah, I know. And I lived in Vikaspuri.
Okay.
As with regards to BIMSTEC, actually I'm more on the multiculturalism, multinationalisms, and that. But in this part of the world, as you well know, that nationalisms and protectionisms, isolationisms, so all these are happening. When it's come to BIMSTEC, and many Burmese, they do not know about the BIMSTEC. What is BIMSTEC? They don't. There is no focus on that area, but they leaning on the more on the. They know Southeast Asia, ASEAN, but as you all said that the media plays a very big role in to build up coordination, collaborations between in our area. Actually, Myanmar is in between of both BIMSTEC and our Southeast Asia. We need to, as a journalist, I admit that we have a responsibility and to promote the interest for the BIMSTEC. But let me brief about the media in this country. Media in many countries are dying. Many media, especially the print media, is losing. But make matters worse in Myanmar, when it's come to COVID, even the television, the mainstream media, not just print, but also televisions, radio, and online are losing because they don't get advertisement at all. Very recently, massive layoff. I guess couple of hundred reporters and editors are fired. For some media houses, they reduce working hour. Some media houses, they reduce salaries. All these are happening. And also, the media itself have problem that journalists, due to the lack of a proper education, journalists, they don't have exposure and the language barrier. Many of the journalists, they don't read in English. So when you need to read about India, you need to read about Nepal or the Bangladesh. They are out of touch. Then they cannot interest on that. And also the country has many problems, internal problems, you know, arms conflict, poverty, many things and that. So I think our society is more busy in internal issue rather than they looking to others and looking to neighbors. Yeah, both India and Bangladesh are looking east, but we are also looking east because we and Burmese people are migrating to Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, whatever country, you know, they're getting for job. So that these all are happening. These are the challenges we need to take care of. And I myself, I'm an advisor to an trafficking group, anti-trafficking group based in India. So we are trying to formulate the collaboration between India, Bangladesh, and Myanmar with regards to the anti-trafficking issues. But still, and then people are not interested in, and also regulatory problems that are these there. But I like the idea of health issues, which is, I think, and we have a common ground. This region, we have a common problems. Health is one of the problems. So if we go further to implement that, and I myself, or the, you know, as an organization, we would participate, we would cooperate with you. So I'm open to all the options and for the further collaboration. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sein, for making those important points about the response, that we should be more responsible as a media, that media should be responsible to promote the interest of BIMSTEC in their countries. And with this, I would like to invite Kamal Bharti. He is a political editor at the Annapurna Express, a leading national daily of Nepal. Sir, your audio is muted.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Yeah, my friends have already shared many things. I just want to say a few things. When we discuss about the BIMSTEC in the time of the crisis or during the time of the pandemic, we see that the BIMSTEC is not active at this point. This shows that how BIMSTEC is functioning. You can see how BIMSTEC is functioning. At least in the SAARC, there was video conference led by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and at least member of the SAARC countries came together to fight COVID-19. But in the case of the BIMSTEC, you see, there has not been even a video conference among the head of the states or ministerial level. And this shows that all countries and the members of the BIMSTEC are not serious to take the BIMSTEC forward. And this also shows, and another area I want to focus is that we are talking about the BIMSTEC, as my friend Dipanjan also mentioned, that India is giving priority to BIMSTEC since 2016, inviting the member of the BIMSTEC, head of the state in the BRICS outreach program. That is correct. But if you see the progress in the priority area of the 14, you cannot see any progress. And what I think is that the crisis like this, COVID-19, will frequently come in the future. There will be the issues related to climate change. The health issues will be even more serious in the coming years. That is why it is the high time for the BIMSTEC to seriously think about how to deal with such pandemic in the future, not only about the COVID-19. BIMSTEC country is going to face a lot of problems. You see, due to the climate change, this region is going to face the problem of the flood, problem of the Himalaya glacier melting, and the other several problems. That is why BIMSTEC is the right body to take up this matter, but that is not happening. And the COVID-19 has shown that there is a need to reorganize or rethink about the BIMSTEC body itself. And another point I want to highlight is that as we are talking about the BIMSTEC, the issue of the SARC obviously comes. As India is pushing BIMSTEC as a substitute of the SARC, there is suspicion among the member countries that India is going to minimize the SARC, or India is going to abandon the SARC process, and it is going to choose BIMSTEC over SARC. This doesn't provide a good message because they cannot substitute each other. And if we try to replace SARC by BIMSTEC, then it would be certainly difficult even to push the BIMSTEC activities. So member countries should be serious that both organizations should be pushed simultaneously. And another area is that it has been already late that the BIMSTEC countries should create a fund, a collective fund, to fight with the COVID-19 and the other disasters that comes in the future. Certainly there has been initiations, and media is also reporting about it. Many of you know that India is hosting the meeting of the chief of the security agencies, and it is hosting the BIMSTEC disasters exercise. It is doing a lot. It is doing some steps, not a lot. It is doing some. It is taking some steps, but that needs to be enhanced in the coming days. Especially, my focus is now that we are really going to face a lot of problems due to the climate change, and if BIMSTEC is not ready to tackle, then the situation will be very worse. And as far as the role of the media is concerned, as Dipanjan also outlined, that I agree with him that there is a need to create a BIMSTEC media forum or BIMSTEC media network. Then through such network we can exchange the informations, we can visit each other's country and report each other countries' issues and status, and it helps to enhance to people connection. You know, the main problem of the BIMSTEC region is that there is not people-to-people connection. That is the main reason. We don't know each other. We don't know about the Thailand. We don't know much about the Bangladesh, and we don't know about the other countries. So the first priority of the media should be to inform about each other. Informing about each other, enhancing the people-to-people ties should be the first priority. For example, member of the other BIMSTEC countries, media from the other countries should know about the crisis of the melting Himalayas and what would be its impact on the entire Bay of Bengal. For example, if the member of the BIMSTEC, if the journalist of the member countries visit Nepal and report about the glacier melting and its impact on the livelihoods of these regions, this would certainly help to force the politicians to act on these issues, but this is not happening. So as my friends already shared many things, I just want to highlight that the media's priority first should be to promote people-to-people contact and to bring the common problem and challenges of the BIMSTEC countries among the people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kamal, for bringing this point. And like you highlighted, that climate change will be a very big issue in the coming years, and that media can play a role. So after this post-COVID is over, that climate change can be an issue, which should be the focus area, along with informing people about each other in the region, so that people know each other more. I know that this has been a problem in the South Asia and Southeast Asia, that we don't know each other much because of the limited interaction we have. So I think that interaction could be increased with the help of media. And now I would like to invite Sulochana Ramiah Mohan. She is a deputy editor of Ceylon today. She has been in the print media for over 18 years and written on wide range subjects, including local and international politics and international affairs. She has been also writing on human rights, minority issues, and religious extremism. Maritime security affairs in South Asia is her favorite topic, She has also written extensively on Belt and Road Initiative of China and Sri Lanka on the path of economic development in post-war scenario. Now I would like you to start with your presentation. Ma'am? Hello?
Yes, she's on mute. She's mute.
I will just unmute her.
No, I think in a connection, internet connection problem.
I think I will just ask her what is the problem. Yeah, ma'am, you are unmute. Ma'am, you are unmute. Ma'am.
All right.
Yeah, ma'am.
Hello. Can I speak?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, very sorry about this internet connection because it's during daytime it's very much a problem here in Sri Lanka, and I was wondering whether it would happen to me, and it did happen. Anyway, hi to all of you. And as I didn't even listen to the introduction you gave, but then I hope I am listening to the other members who spoke. And my take on this BIMSTEC is basically that it didn't come out a big bang like SAC. You know, it didn't happen so. BIMSTEC is still like the other gentleman from Myanmar said, it didn't come out with a big bang, and still people are unaware of this particular system that is in action, despite SAC is basically defunct. But then a lot of things are proceeded or inactive in the BIMSTEC perspective. And Sri Lanka being one of the only country, or maybe to say the island country, has been very much on focus because of this. Since we are an island country, we are focused on the region first. Some time back, it was not that. We were mostly looking towards the Western countries, passing 7 seas and 7 mountains. And we did a lot of business there, and we got this GSP Plus, and we were trying to sell a lot of apparel to the Western countries. But then suddenly we failed when we were given a red notice about our human rights issues. That is when that we Sri Lankans thought about there's no other option but to look around our region. You know, that's South Asia and Southeast Asia gradually. But South Asia was then targeted. Okay, we can send our material, our goods to the regions around our country. And then we focused on Bangladesh. Yes, we did a lot of improvement with Bangladesh actually. Then we have also done quite well with India, which has always been our big brother actually. So things have been moving towards that, but still there is a lot of areas, gray areas that we can focus on. As the other gentleman from, I think, India, who said that we need to mainly know each other first. We have to cultivate the culture of knowing BIMSTEC, and it's the most powerful thing in this region because there's no other option. We have no SAC. SAC is the only one that we were focusing on. Still we talk about SAC while there is nothing much happening. So BIMSTEC is the only organization at the moment that has all the power, all the connection, the connectivity, the close range to move, visit and come back. So this has to be cultivated and done more rigorously, not in a very slow pace as we are doing now. But there are a lot of options, lot of areas, lot of things that we can move forward and actually become one of the powerful region in the world, which is not happening as we could dream actually. We only can dream about. But then Sri Lanka, as being positioned in a strategic location, actually can do a lot more. Business-wise development and sharing information, knowledge, security reasons that is going on, but we are unaware of the strength of it. How much are we doing it? How much are we using BIMSTEC for our own activities? How much is Bangladesh using us? How much is Bangladesh using Myanmar? So these are we only know the political setup of human rights issues and violations. Those we speak a lot on every other minute. But the real problem of getting this, organizing ourselves to fight out even human rights issue, we can be connected in a better platform so that we could address our issues. Now, we know for sure the Rohingyas have an issue, but what can we do from Sri Lanka? We can do nothing. We are just watching. But actually we can do, because we also suffered a lot of internal displacement. We suffered a lot of what do you call extremism, and we have also suffered in the hands of terrorism. So there are a lot of common things among our countries, but we have isolated ourselves, and we only strike a deal country to country, like Sri Lanka with India, Sri Lanka with Bangladesh, but there is no unity. We don't get everybody to one table to sit and talk. And when we talk about media, there is no room for media in this entire setup. The BIMSTEC, sorry, there is no journalists who have been taken to these conferences, hardly, unless you have some connection to the political stream. There is no open arms to welcome journalists to boost this trademark called BIMSTEC and take to the next level. So there should be a lot of levels of connectivity. One is the media connectivity, one is the business connectivity, one is the human rights connectivity, security connectivity, and these areas, each of a group or a forum can be cultivated or created where we can take each of them separately and then bound to one big forum. So I would suggest that Sri Lanka is the only country is a bit separated, don't have a landmass, there is no borders. But we are there to do a lot of things, and I'm sure this government as well, the former government also introduced BIMSTEC and said that a lot can be done. But how much are we doing is, I don't know. We only talk. We are in the talking level. Lot of constructive, discussions, dialogues are going on, but practically there is very much less. We are not doing so much as we did during SAC was there. SAC was a tremendous body that really worked well, but then now it's so sad that we have no room to even enter and talk about SAC. Though the activities in SAC are still active, they are not dismantled. Likewise, in the longer run, BIMSTEC will also lose its interest if we don't keep this in a level of a very rigorous connectivity and continuous link with the other countries and promote this particular organization. At the same time, about COVID and connection, again, is the same story. We are health related matters are most struggling matter to deal with. We don't even get masks. There was no organization that could come and say, okay, yeah, we are there to support you. But we had to wait till some country to give us masks. Similarly with India, I think, similar status quo with Bangladesh, I think. But Sri Lanka, ultimately with political intervention, we have to get a mask from Indian government to government help. But there are so many private entities when you talk about BIMSTEC who could have, if they were properly organized, could have done things quicker, faster, and helped each other. So on the long run, as many of you suggested, the media fraternity should be made use of, because I, as a Sri Lankan,
I think we have again lost her. Ma'am, can you hear us? No, she's not there. Yeah, ma'am. Ma'am, unmute yourself. Ma'am, unmute yourself.
all right. As a journalist, I take the trouble to expose BIMSTEC about security, maritime security. I take a lot of interest because I see a potential that we cannot keep our eyes off, but to engage ourselves in whatever the manner we can work on. So I have done that, and I really hope this particular conversation will take one step further and it will reach another group, and we will continue to talk about it and educate ourselves. And using the media fraternity is a very vital point. Otherwise, there is no BIMSTEC going to exist. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for making all these points about like we should strike country to country. We always strike country to country deal, not on the basis of as a region, and that we need to build connectivity like trade and security. And people are unaware. This point has come again a lot of time. Like people are unaware of this region. So coming to the second part now, I would like every one of you to make a brief comment, or you can take a minute or 2 or 3. Maximum 3 minutes, to talk about the problem of fake news. Has in this COVID situation, has this problem of fake news increased in your country? Has it decreased? And what are the steps with the media internally in the country taking to fight this challenge? So I would now go in the reverse order and ask ma'am to start with it. To talking about the problem of fake news in the COVID situation. Has it increased, decreased? What's the situation? Sulochana ma'am? I think we have lost. I would like for the time in Dipanjan sir to contribute to it. Dipanjan sir.
Fake news of. Would like to discuss in fake news in terms of COVID or in general?
Has it? You can talk in general also, but my focus is: do you think has it increased in the COVID situation, or has it decreased? And what are the steps that the media is taking, battling it out? Because this is also as a problem is growing in the region.
Okay. I think fake news in terms of some misinformation has been spread in India. If I look at it, in the crisis situation, the real, whatever has been the various crises, I'm saying various aspects of the crisis. Some fake news has been doing the rounds in terms of, in terms of certain aspects of the economy. How badly has the economy been hit? Certain misinformation. These have been doing arounds. I would not really call it, fake news of that kind, because I also see, of course, in a democracy there are different views, and the ruling party has a view, the opposition party has a view, and they are putting forward. In some cases, the opposition and the ruling party has also come together in helping the laborers and the movement of laborers. There has been, certain news in terms of discrimination of patients in certain parts of the country, which I can describe it as fake news. But it has been, it was quite promptly handled by either the administration or by some of the stakeholders in the media.
Zafar sir, would you like to bring out the case of Bangladesh, situation of fake news during the COVID time in Bangladesh?
Sure, absolutely. Actually, I would suggest that from the Bangladeshi perspective, it hasn't been a problem. In fact, the problem has been in the opposite direction. Now, certainly there have been, this is a very crucial time. We have to be very careful that misinformation and disinformation is not spread, and a lot of misinformation and disinformation is out there. But the first thing I'll say in the context of Bangladesh, none of this is coming from the mainstream media. To the extent that it exists, perhaps you'll find it on social media, someone putting something up on Facebook, or if you have some kind of a blog, something like this. So no mainstream media that I'm aware of has been guilty of this crime, this infringement here in Bangladesh. However, on the flip side, one of the biggest problems we're actually facing is we have a law in Bangladesh, the Digital Security Act, which is quite draconian and has been actually used to clamp down on people trying to report the story over the last couple of months. You see, and we're seeing a lot of people who've been arrested for, if you talk about relief, which has been misappropriated, that's an issue. If you talk about that perhaps the situation is more dire than is officially being let on, people are being picked up and arrested, in fact, and put in jail. And some of these provisions are non-bailable. And so they have to actually stay behind bars. And so this is a real concern. I think what we're seeing is because the sensitivities are so great, and I do understand the government's perspective. I understand that they don't want a panic to be created. I understand that they think it's very important to keep sort of a control over the situation, but I think they've moved a little too far in that direction. I feel at a time of a pandemic, at a health crisis, in fact, the most important thing is transparency. The most important thing is free flow of information. And I feel the media can actually play that role. And if there is misinformation and disinformation out there, I think the best way is to counter that is to let the actual real information flow. And I think most people will be discerning enough to understand it. And I think that's really what's happened. So in Bangladesh, the problem is not so much that we're getting flooded with fake news, although some of that exists. It's that the government is actually a little too cautious on this issue and is really coming down on legitimate journalism, which I think is the wrong way to go.
Thank you. Kamal sir, what's the situation in Nepal if we talk about fake news? Sir, you are mute. Sir, you are mute.
Yeah, obviously fake news has increased in Nepal during the time of the pandemic, obviously. But I outlined a couple of problems. First, there are two types of media. The responsible media are not spreading much false information or fake news, but in some cases, even the mainstream media are giving false information, not intentionally, but being ignorance or being not very sensitive. We have found that even the news disseminated by the mainstream media are also fake, or the people are getting misinformation from the media. For I want to give today's example. Then in the morning time there was news in mainstream media that the death of the COVID-19 has reached 4, has reached 3, but immediately the hospital refuted, or the hospital dismissed such report. The actual problem was that our responsible minister was himself giving the information to the media that the one person has died. So what I am trying to say is that there is a problem in the information system. Even the government agencies and even the doctors, even the hospitals sometimes are providing not accurate information, and that has led to the spread of the misinformation. And obviously some social media users and some online are intentionally spreading misinformation in order to increase their TRP. So these are the tentative scenario of the fake news in Nepal.
Thank you. Sein, what's the situation in Myanmar? Has it increased or? Yeah.
Actually, I hate to use Donald Trump version of the fake news. Never mind. And you know, fake news is happening in our country. One time to the COVID-19, it is getting worse because we had internal politics that already driven the fake news. You know, on two sides are attacking each other, and also ethnic conflicts. So fake news is very not stranger to the country. But when the COVID-19 scam, and there's more fake news related to COVID. There are 3 types of fake news. One, you know, about the patients, about the people dying. For example, hundreds of people are dying due to the COVID in somewhere. Some other secondly, it is about the herbal. Onion can cure fake news. And COVID. Lemon can cure COVID. Such informations like that. Also, another thing is a funny thing. People trolling. It's 5 o'clock. And graphic, which is you know, incorrectly in terms of information. So these things are bad. People use this, and people are producing this. You know, I see the 2 main reasons. One is political reasons, and another one is economical reason. Because nowadays, you know, Facebook is very popular. So if you can produce the news piece information or the news pieces on Facebook, you will get a lot of followers, and you can make it and money out of that. So these two things are happening. But let me share what we have been doing in Mizzima. We have a special program which talk about the fake news, and we have a television. So every week, and 3 programs and 50 programs, and 3 programs a week, talking about the fake news. Oh no, these which fake news you have to be care of. So we broadcast it on the televisions and also publish online. So that is what we have been doing with the collaboration with other organizations. And I think this year, Myanmar will have a general election. So we could see more fake news ahead on. Thank you.
Sulochana ma'am, what is the situation in Sri Lanka?
Well, talking about fake news, this is more or less you can see within the websites that is operating in this country, and here it's more misinformation. Well, I don't say, I would say disinformation. It's very much deliberate. The websites are first they started with fake news, in the sense misinformation. They are running at a race. On this race, they wanted to break news first. You know, they wanted to get the news first. In that rush, they get into some deliver messages taken from here and there, no proper sources revealed, no bylines. So such news started to come quite a lot, disturbing the country. But later on, it became disinformation. That is polarizing the ethnic communities here, targeting particular religious community, targeting ethnic community, mainly the minority communities. This has become the trend lately with the COVID-19 cases, where they wanted to spot people, to point out that this particular community is the one is spreading. They are illiterate. They are the downtrodden community who don't have basic knowledge about the disease, and they are the people who are squatters, like that sort of an attitude. And they started highlighting the areas. And in Sri Lanka, when you talk about an area, you easily know who is the community living there. With the area identifier, you can easily guess this particular community lives in that particular area. So when you mention the area, people get alerted. Oh, this particular minority community, this particular religious minority community are the ones who are creating havoc, and we are going through this long pending the long curfew that is going on and on. So that was very much disturbing news that was spreading, and these deliberate messages are still circulating among us. But when you take the print media, we are very cautious, because once it's printed, it's always a print, and you cannot remove it like the website or a Twitter message or a social media comment. So we are more cautious as a print media journalist. What we do is we are asked to check at 4 or 5 sources before you get into the story. And even if that story has a sort of a hinting of somebody, or written in a way that upsets somebody, we are very cautious about it. We journalists, the mainstream journalists, are very cautious and very sensitive towards these issues, because these little minute issues have actually created a lot of disturbing problems and scenarios in this country. Even a village was set fire on information of this nature. So there are a big group of journalists, I would say, who are very concerned, who are very sensitive towards this thing. But the website, when I talk about website, I'm really even scared to read those websites, because we can get carried away the way they portray and project pictures and captions. So there is a lot of things going on, but arresting fake news handlers are very less. I think during COVID time there were two people who were arrested over pointing, making a comment on social media of fake information. They were immediately tracked and taken into custody. But on the whole, this has become a real joke here. Many of us are doing this, and we sensitive journalists don't use that. We don't share those information. We don't even talk about it. But to can curtail, manage this fake news and misinformation, disinformation, you name it. But on the whole, overall picture is that a lot of sensitive journalists are taking talk about it and not to share, not to talk about it, send even a message and asking to check. We are very cautious, and we have created very good, strong media groups on WhatsApp. And anything what we come to hear, we share them. We share and ask, is this true? Is this okay? Is this picture?
Yeah, so basically,
we manage. And there's no big drama over it, but then it has become a trend. The trend which we many ignore.
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
Yeah, the trend is actually everywhere, where it's just not related to Sri Lanka. It has. So now, if I would open for the final comments, if you have any, else I would wrap up the session. If any of you want to make some final comments? Okay, so I would wrap the session. It was a very intriguing session and insightful one, knowing the scenarios in each of this country. And I think that media can play an important role in getting government to build better public healthcare in this region. And in this manner, I would like to propose that we should, as you all have talked about, that we are unaware about each other. Like the people of this region are very much unaware about each other. And historically speaking, we need to reconnect rather than connect, because historically this region has been in connection for years, for centuries. Like if we talk about India or the Southeast Asia, the Cholas Empire had link in every part of the Southeast Asia. And if we talk about with Sri Lanka, we are mythologically related. With Bangladesh, before partition, we were one. Same with Burma also, we share that Buddhist trend. So we need to reconnect. And what I propose is that for reconnection, or like we have all the prominent people from different newspaper right now with us in this discussion. So I would like that each one of you could give a platform to other country, if not in the printing media, then in the website media, where you all can write for each other. We can form a WhatsApp group of that sort where you all can share your contact details. And I think that if media and you people as a journalist, I know that you all are doing, but if that is pushed, like one story in a section which is talking about like what's the situation there, what are the good things which is done in a particular country, and talking about each other, I think that would play a very important role, because I think media is the first driver for reconnection. Because when something or initiative taken from government, it has a lot of bureaucratic and other things to follow, but that's not the case if we want to talk to each other through media engagement. So that's what I would propose, that if we could interact with each other more and give space to each other on the website of each other's newspaper, like Mizzima or the Economics Times or the Annapurna Times, Ceylon Today, or the Zafar's paper, if we can give each other the digital space, and I think through digital space it will reach more people, because digital connectivity will be the talk of the town in the COVID and in the post-COVID order. So I think if we could connect digitally and talk about each other and focus on reconnecting, then it would be a very great initiative which could be started. And as all of you have told about the unawareness thing, so this unawareness can be rooted out by talking about each other and giving each other that space in the media. So that's what the thing is. And yeah, BIMSTEC is not functioning very well. So I think that if the awareness is spread across the region and the people know more about it, like Sein was talking about, the people really don't know what BIMSTEC is in Myanmar. So if that could be done, so I think that one section or one article from one of you in some other newspaper, I think that could be a good step, an initial step for connecting each other. So with that, I would like to thank you all for coming for this discussion, putting across your views, and I hope that we interact more in these manners and that we move forward on this idea of giving space to each other and talking about the good practices, writing for each other to get in connection with the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alakh.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Kamal. Thank you, Mr. Shobhan. Yeah.
Thank you.